June 8, 1998. A luxury suite in the presidential villa, Aso Rock, Abuja, Nigeria. The most powerful man in Africa collapses. Official story? Heart attack. The whispers? 2 Indian prostitutes, a bottle of Viagra, and a general who knew too much. But General Sani Abacha didn't just die that night. He took with him the blueprints to the most brazen theft in African history. $5 billion vanished. Not stolen in the dead of night, looted in broad daylight with fake paperwork, presidential signatures, and a central bank that asked no questions. This is the story of how one man didn't just rob a country, he made an entire nation disappear. Sani Abacha was born on September 20, 1943, in Kano, northern Nigeria. A Kanuri Muslim in a country divided by region, religion, and resources. He didn't come from wealth, he came from calculation. At age 19, he joined the Nigerian Military Academy. The army wasn't just a career path in post-independence Nigeria, it was the fast track to power. Between 1966 and 1993, Nigeria saw 8 military coups. Abacha participated in nearly all of them. 1983, he helped General Muhammadu Buhari overthrow the Second Republic. 1985, he betrayed Buhari, backing General Ibrahim Babangida. 1993, when Babangida annulled Nigeria's freest election, chaos erupted. An interim government tried to hold things together. It lasted 82 days. On November 17, 1993, Abacha struck. Bloodless, efficient, inevitable. He dissolved all democratic institutions, banned political parties, imprisoned journalists. Nigeria, a country of 100 million people, now belonged to one man in dark sunglasses who never smiled. But here's what the world didn't see yet. While Abacha was seizing power, he was already planning the heist. According to later investigations by the United States Department of Justice, the looting began almost immediately. Not with secret Swiss accounts first, not with offshore shell companies initially, with a single, brilliant realization. If you control the central bank, you don't need to steal. You just need paperwork. The Central Bank of Nigeria held the nation's reserves, oil revenues, tax income, foreign aid, all of it flowing through one institution. And Abacha controlled the signatures. Between 1993 and 1998, a pattern emerged. Handwritten notes on official letterhead, marked urgent, claiming national security emergencies, requesting cash, millions at a time. The central bank complied, every single time. According to court documents filed by the U.S. Department of Justice, an estimated $1.4 billion was delivered this way. In cash, or traveler's checks, packed in boxes, loaded into convoys, driven to the villa. National security? There were no emergencies. No crises requiring immediate cash payments, no receipts, no documentation, no oversight, just a general, a central bank, and a system so corroded by fear that nobody dared ask questions. They commit more farm wasn't content with cash in suitcases. That's amateur hour. He needed infrastructure, a global architecture of theft, and he found willing partners everywhere. According to the U.S. Department of Justice's largest kleptocracy forfeiture action in history, filed years later, here's how the machine worked. Step 1. The request. Abacha or his national security advisor, Ismaila Gwarzo, would submit fake national security funding requests to the central bank. The bank governor, terrified of refusing, authorized the withdrawals. Step 2. The handoff. The cash was collected by Abacha's sons, Mohammed, Ibrahim, and Abba Abacha, or trusted associates. They included his chief security officer, Major Hamza al-Mustafa. Step 3. The wash. This is where it gets elegant. The stolen Nigerian naira was converted into US dollars through bureau de change, then wired to shell companies. Companies with names designed to sound legitimate but registered in jurisdictions that asked no questions. Court documents identified dozens of these entities. Companies incorporated in the British Virgin Islands, the Seychelles, Liechtenstein, Mauritius. One transaction alone, documented in U.S. forfeiture complaints, involved over $458 million frozen in accounts linked to Abacha family members. Another complaint sought forfeiture of more than $550 million. But it wasn't just offshore islands. The money flowed into some of the world's most respected financial centers. London real estate, luxury properties in Knightsbridge and Mayfair, purchased through shell companies. Swiss bank accounts. Multiple accounts at major institutions, shielded by banking secrecy laws that Switzerland would later be forced to dismantle. American investments. Real estate in Maryland. Bank accounts in New York. All facilitated by compliance officers who apparently never asked where a Nigerian general got $500 million. Let's pause here. $5 billion. To understand that scale, Nigeria's entire federal budget in 1997 was around $3.3 billion. Abacha stole more than the government spent in a year. The average Nigerian annual income? About $300. Abacha stole the equivalent of 16 million Nigerian lifetimes. But money wasn't the only thing Abacha made vanish. People disappeared too. This story is just getting deeper. If this shocks you already, hit subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Here's what makes the Abacha case so devastating. It wasn't unique. It was just the most efficient example of a system that had been bleeding Nigeria for decades. Before Abacha, there was Ibrahim Babangida. His regime, from 1985 to 1993, saw an estimated $12 billion vanish during the Gulf War oil boom. Nigeria's oil revenues surged. The treasury didn't. After Abacha, Diazani Alison Madueke, Nigeria's petroleum minister from 2010 to 2015. US and UK authorities froze assets worth hundreds of millions. Luxury properties in London, jewelry valued in the millions, a private jet. In 2020, a Nigerian senator, Borji Uzor Kalu, was convicted of stealing 7.65 billion naira, about $20 million, in state funds. He served 6 months before his conviction was overturned on a technicality. James Ibori, governor of Delta State from 1999 to 2007, admitted in a UK court to stealing at least £50 million from one of Nigeria's poorest states. He served 4 years of a 13-year sentence, then returned to Nigeria a hero. The pattern is unmistakable. Shell companies, offshore accounts, London real estate, Western banks processing transactions without serious questions, light sentences, minimal accountability. Abacha didn't invent Nigerian corruption. He industrialized it. While billions flowed out, here's what stayed behind. Hospitals without medicine, schools without teachers, roads collapsing into red dirt, power grids that worked maybe 4 hours a day. Lagos, a city of 20 million, had infrastructure built for 2 million. The Niger Delta, where the oil came from, had communities drinking water poisoned by spills and gas flares burning day and night. This wasn't just theft. It was the systematic erasure of Nigeria's future. November 10, 1995. Port Harcourt, Rivers State, southern Nigeria. Ken Saro-Wiwa, a writer, an environmentalist, a voice for the Ogoni people whose land produced Nigeria's oil wealth but saw none of its benefits. He was hanged, along with 8 other activists. The Ogoni 9. The trial was a sham. The tribunal was military. International observers called it judicial murder. The Commonwealth suspended Nigeria. The United States recalled its ambassador. The European Union imposed sanctions. For the first time, Abacha faced real international pressure. Not for the billions he'd stolen, for killing 9 activists who threatened nothing but embarrassment. But here's what broke Abacha's grip. He got greedy. In 1998, Abacha began planning to transition from military dictator to elected president. All 5 government-sanctioned political parties nominated him. A referendum was scheduled. The outcome was guaranteed. But Abacha had been hemorrhaging legitimacy. His chief political rival, Moshood Abiola, the man who actually won the 1993 election, was in prison. Journalists were jailed. Activists had been executed. Even Nigeria's long-suffering patience was running out. Then, on June 8, 1998, everything stopped. Abacha was dead. The official story: sudden heart attack. He was 54. No prior cardiac history. The rumors, reported by sources including Al Jazeera and international media, were far more colorful. Abacha died in the presidential villa with 2 Indian prostitutes. Viagra was involved. An overdose, some whispered. Poisoning, others claimed. His personal doctor fled the country. No autopsy was performed. Abacha was buried within 24 hours per Islamic tradition. To this day, nobody knows exactly how Sani Abacha died. But a lot of very powerful people had reasons to want him gone. With Abacha dead, the floodgates opened. His successor, General Abdul Salami Abu Bakr, released political prisoners, including Abiola. Tragically, Abiola died weeks later under mysterious circumstances. But Abu Bakr did something else, something unprecedented. He invited international investigators to examine Nigeria's finances. What they found was staggering. Swiss authorities froze accounts containing hundreds of millions. The United Kingdom identified properties worth over £100 million linked to the Abacha family. The United States launched its largest ever kleptocracy investigation. According to U.S. Department of Justice documents, investigators traced funds through Morgan Procurement Company, a shell entity in the British Virgin Islands; Sona Investments Limited, registered in Jersey; Dinfield Limited, another British Virgin Islands company. Layer after layer, shell after shell, all leading back to one family, the Abachas. So where did the money go? That's the $5 billion question. And the answer should enrage you. Between 2000 and 2020, Nigeria successfully repatriated billions from foreign accounts. Let's break down the recoveries. 2006, Switzerland returned $723 million, designated for infrastructure projects. 2017, the United States, Switzerland, and Jersey agreed to repatriate $321 million, earmarked for the poor via a conditional cash transfer program. 2020, Jersey returned £267 million, intended for infrastructure, specifically the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and the Second Niger Bridge. 2021, the United States returned an additional $23 million. On paper, over $1.3 billion has been recovered. That's real money. That could build hospitals, schools, roads. But here's the problem. Nigerian civil society organizations, including the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, have repeatedly raised alarms. The repatriated funds, they argue, lack transparency and accountability. The 2006 Swiss repatriation? Audits found poor project implementation. Funds meant for infrastructure disappeared into administrative costs and unfinished contracts. The 2017 Conditional Cash Transfer Program. Reports suggested beneficiary lists were padded with ghost recipients. Money meant for the poorest Nigerians vanished, again, into the same system that enabled Abacha in the first place. And this isn't new. When Nigeria repatriated funds stolen by military dictator Sani Abacha's predecessor, let me correct that. When Nigeria repatriated Abacha funds before 2006, similar patterns emerged. Money returned. Money disappeared. The cycle is maddening. Civil society groups have called for independent monitoring of repatriated funds, public disclosure of expenditures, institutional frameworks to prevent relooting. None of this has been adequately implemented. So when you hear that over $1 billion has been recovered, ask the next question. Where is it now? Because in many cases, nobody can tell you. This story is just getting deeper. If this shocks you already, hit subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Here's the part that should make you furious. Abacha didn't do this alone. He couldn't have. To steal $5 billion and hide it across multiple continents requires help, professional help, institutional help, and he got it. Let's talk about the enablers. First, the offshore jurisdictions. British Virgin Islands, Jersey, Seychelles, Liechtenstein. These aren't just tropical islands or alpine principalities. They're secrecy for hire operations. Shell companies incorporated in the British Virgin Islands ask almost no questions. No requirement to disclose beneficial owners. No public registries. Perfect for hiding stolen billions. Jersey, a British Crown dependency, has built an entire economy on financial services with strict banking secrecy. When U.S. investigators finally cracked Abacha's accounts there, they found hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in banks that apparently never questioned why a Nigerian general was parking fortunes in their vaults. Second, the banking system. Swiss banks have a reputation, discretion, privacy, no questions asked. Abacha took full advantage. According to reports, multiple Swiss financial institutions held Abacha family accounts. It took international pressure and years of litigation before Switzerland agreed to freeze and repatriate the funds. But Switzerland wasn't alone. UK banks processed transactions. US financial institutions accepted wire transfers. Every single one of these banks had anti-money laundering obligations. They were supposed to flag suspicious transactions. They were supposed to ask, where did this money come from? They didn't. Third, the real estate markets. London has become a laundromat for dirty money. Luxury properties in Belgravia, Knightsbridge, and Mayfair sold to shell companies registered in tax havens. No questions about the beneficial owner. No verification of fund sources. Abacha's family purchased multiple properties this way. Penthouses, estates, prime real estate worth tens of millions of pounds. The sellers? Estate agents, law firms, financial advisors, all participants in a system that prioritizes transactions over transparency. Fourth, the professional facilitators. To move billions requires lawyers to draft contracts, accountants to structure transactions, wealth managers to invest the funds. Court documents occasionally name these enablers when their actions cross legal lines. But most operate in gray zones, technically legal, morally bankrupt. And here's the global pattern. The Panama Papers, the Paradise Papers, the Pandora Papers. Every major leak reveals the same architecture. Dictators, oligarchs, and kleptocrats from the developing world, hiding stolen wealth in the developed world, with help from professionals in London, Geneva, New York, and Luxembourg. Abacha's billions didn't vanish into thin air. They vanished into bank accounts with compliance officers, into real estate transactions with solicitors, into shell companies registered by corporate service providers, every step facilitated by a global financial system that profits from secrecy. The investigators now. That's the question that haunts Nigeria. Sani Abacha is dead, buried in Kano, but his family? They're still there. Mohammed Abacha, the eldest son deeply implicated in the money laundering schemes, has faced multiple arrests and investigations over the decades. In 2019, Nigerian authorities briefly detained him again in connection with recovered funds. He was released. No major convictions have stuck. Ibrahim Abacha and Abba Abacha, also named in international forfeiture complaints, continue to live in Nigeria. Wealthy, connected, largely untouchable. Ismaila Gwarzo, Abacha's national security advisor and architect of the fake funding requests, was arrested after Abacha's death. He cooperated with investigators, testified about the mechanisms, then faded from public view. Major Hamza al-Mustafa, Abacha's brutal chief security officer, was convicted in 2012 for the murder of Kudirat Abiola, wife of the imprisoned opposition leader. He was sentenced to death, but in 2013 his conviction was overturned on appeal. He walked free. Today, al-Mustafa has attempted political comebacks. He gives interviews, defends the Abacha regime, calls it misunderstood. The Abacha family has never been required to return all the stolen funds. International law makes this nearly impossible. Assets must be proven in court. Jurisdictions must cooperate. Shell companies obscure ownership. Billions remain unrecovered. And here's the cruelest irony. Some Nigerians, especially in the north, remember Abacha almost fondly. Why? Because he was strong. Because he kept Nigeria together. Because the corruption that came after him has been just as bad and louder. That's how normalized the theft has become. A dictator who stole $5 billion, executed activists, and imprisoned opponents is remembered by some as a stabilizing force. That's not nostalgia. That's trauma. So what do we take from this? $5 billion stolen. A country bled dry. Activists executed. Billions partially recovered, then vanished again into systems without accountability. International banks that facilitated the theft faced minimal consequences. Shell company jurisdictions continue operating exactly as before. The Abacha family lives in comfort. And Nigeria? Nigeria keeps moving. Over 200 million people, young, creative, resilient beyond comprehension. But imagine what they could build if the billions hadn't vanished. Imagine the hospitals, the schools, the infrastructure, the future. Sani Abacha didn't just steal money. He stole possibilities. He stole generations of progress. And the systems that helped him? They're still open for business.